And we're back to our front seat conversation. And today we are going to be talking about why do we have to speak the Igbo language? Why do our children have to speak the Igbo language? Kedife game kai wena su Igbo. Kedife meliji su Igbo jidimpa for umuazi na eteto. Before I bido okwu anua, nga like ka I get into to Chimamanda Adichie.
Some people have said that Igbo has no global power, or as one parent put it to me, this is not true. Igbo speaking opens you up to a new way of seeing the world, because language and worldview are so closely intertwined. Igbo also happens to be a particularly beautiful and wise language.
So, we're starting this conversation because I want to be addressing the young people across the world who are Igbo, but who do not speak Igbo, who do not, whose parents do not speak Igbo too, and who have not learned the language. So we have a host of teenagers, we have a host of young people today around the world, the global Igbo diaspora, who are not able to speak or communicate in the Igbo language. And that is primarily because some of the people hold the view that Igbo is not a global power. Igbo language is not, as Chimamanda said, but today I'm going to be looking at the Igbo and world view. Why being Igbo is an authentic and important, or rather, while speaking Igbo is an authentic and important component of your whole being as an Igbo person. You cannot be Igbo and you cannot be authentically Igbo if you cannot see the world from the lenses of the Igbo worldview. Now, whether you agree with that worldview or not is immaterial. What is important is that your thought process, your worldview emanates from your being, from your culture, from who you are as an Igbo person. So, as an Igbo, what it does for you is that you see the world from an Igbo perspective. The cosmology of the world, the attitudes, the philosophies, the consciousness that you develop as a human being is first and foremost formulated from your language, from your identity. So therefore, if you are an Igbo person and you cannot speak Igbo, you are not thinking in Igbo, or you speak Igbo as drama, anumano manademasu, or kekime adimumma, that's the only Igbo you know. You are losing a lot, you are missing a lot, because the Igbo language encapsulates the Igbo worldview. It is what makes you Igbo. It is what makes you understand what being Igbo means. Because you cannot really be Igbo without thinking like an Igbo man. And therefore, I felt that this afternoon we're going to spend some time looking at how can the children of today learn about the Igbo worldview. And I have come to the conclusion that Igbo lessons, talking to you in Igbo, trying to encourage you to learn Igbo, sometimes, becomes like we're doing it like an afterthought, we're doing it like an obligation. But if you are a young Igbo person, you can actually educate yourself. You can actually begin to see that Igbo worldview by taking out time and using the resources available online to educate yourself on the Igbo worldview. So, whilst you may not be fluent in speaking the language, you begin to understand the philosophy that drives the language, the ideas that inform who we are. So, when you sometimes see a certain behavior that you call, this is an Igbo behavior, you will then understand why we behave that way. And one of the main lessons from which we can learn that is from a man called Mike Ejeagha. I'm going to use the music of Mike Ejeagha to point out to you why it is important and how you can learn Igbo concepts, Igbo worldview by listening to the wise man Mike Ejeagha. The first thing about Mike Ejeagha is
ige ntị
onye ga-abụ
ị ga-anụ ka esi wee lee onye isi oche ka a na-akpọ chairman.
This story tells us the story of the tortoise and the elephant and the wisdom of the tortoise. The tortoise is an important animal in Igbo cosmology. Nwambe. Isi n'ịkwata onye. Nwambe. Isi n'ịkwata onye. Asị ma nịnya chebe enyi. Ọ dịka si na-akwata m enyi. Asị ma nịnya chebe enyi. Ọ dịka si na-akwata m enyi. Akwa enyi ga-abụ isi oche. Akwa enyi ga-abụ isi oche. Enyi na-aga na iso gị n'azụ. Enyi na-aga na iso gị n'azụ. Asị ma nịnya chebe enyi. Ọ dịka si na-akwata m enyi. So Mike Ejeagha uses his music, and which is very interesting. Mike Ejeagha is from Ezeagu in Enugu State, but he sings in this beautiful Onitsha dialect. So I tell all the Igbo people, don't let your dialects hold you hostage from speaking Igbo. Look at the dialect that you relate with, whether it is the beautiful rhythms of the Owerri dialect, or the beautiful Ohafia dialect, or the wonderful dialects of the Abakaliki people, from the Z people, whichever dialects come natural to you, please feel free to express yourself in that Igbo. There is no need for us to force on ourselves a single way of speaking Igbo. So that's an important point Mike Ejeagha made in his music, that for many years I thought he was an Onitsha man, only to find out that he's from Ezeagu in Enugu, and he's proudly Ezeagu. But in this music, Mike Ejeagha points out to the wisdom of the tortoise, how the tortoise tricked the elephant into submission to hand over to a king who had requested that whoever wants to marry the daughter has to bring the elephant. And the tortoise, which is the concept of Uche. The Igbo people hold very dear the idea of Uche. The tortoise is an important animal in Igbo worldview, and that tortoise is exemplified in the idea of Uche. So the tortoise tricked the elephant, big as the elephant was, into submission and becoming, by offering him to be the chairman of the event. So, mgbe elephant na-aga, at a point, the tortoise pointed out, I can't walk as fast as you are. Can I climb on top of your back? Of course, it wasn't possible. Okay, can I hold a rope and hold you with a rope? And of course, the elephant agreed. And as the tortoise approached the king, he was telling the king that he has brought the elephant. And in that story, the Mike Ejeagha encapsulates the philosophy of wisdom over brawn, of brain over brawn, that the size of the elephant did not make him to be as wise as the tortoise. In fact, the Igbos have used the tortoise to show that a very slow animal, a very small animal, can be one of the wisest animals in the forest. Then we also have in Mike Ejeagha, when he brought us the idea of Omeka-Agụ, the story of Omeka-Agụ. Omeka-Agụ's story is a very strong story that Mike Ejeagha told in his inimitable style, of a son who the father had praised to high heavens and had used him to deprive the brother what was due to the brother. And it was clear that this brother of that Omeka-Agụ, who the father wanted to, I think the father wanted him to succeed him as the king. And it was clear that Omeka-Agụ was not supposed to be the king, but the father persisted in his plan to make the son. So the idea of injustice, the idea of unfairness is captured very strongly by Mike Ejeagha in his music. And it is something that the Igbos hold very dear, that injustice can never be solved. Yes. the worldview of Mike Ejeagha, you can learn the basic Igbo tenets of fairness. Igbo people believe in fairness. Igbo people believe in the concept of making sure that the justice is done to everybody. And it is something that I cherish so strongly, and I hope people will continue to understand that behind the Igbo worldview, we should not allow anybody to denigrate our worldview of fairness. The idea that what is due to any person must be given to that person. And so Omeka Agu's brother, after the father had given Omeka Agu the title that should come to him, picked up his obi. So the brother called on the father, use his opi, which is an important instrument in Igbo music, a wind pipe. And he called upon the gods of the land. And he said, but so you can't be an Igbo man if you don't understand the concept of Ogu Nofo, which is why that speaking the language gives you the opportunity to understand the concept of Ogu Nofo. So, Obiako ended in tragedy because of injustice, and you should go back and listen to Mike Ejeagha. I recommend it very strongly for you to listen to Mike Ejeagha and understand the story of Obiako. Another story, which is the last I will tell from him, and you can go for the online available videos on YouTube and learn the concepts that Mike Ejeagha preached about. But this one is about Udeze, the jealousy of a traditional ruler who felt that Udeze was a rich man and was thriving, and decided to press Udeze. Of course, he ended in the village having to go back to go and get Udeze back. When he left the village, so how do I want to explain the concept of Nawoka Atulimo? Or how do I explain the concept of Jesilinote Puome? So you can only understand that if you speak Igbo language, if you understand Igbo language, if you appreciate his nuances and its internalization of his worldviews. So my recommendation today to parents, to young people who are learners, please use the resources that are available and begin to learn the Igbo concept, so that you can be applying the idea of Uche in your daily interaction. You can apply the concept of Uche, because whatever you want to do in this world, however successful you want to be in this world, you cannot get there without applying the unchanging principles that underpin the changing world. And that is why I did this video in English, so that the young people can understand it, can appreciate the need for them to go and utilize the resources available to understand Igbo language. And Mike Ejeagha is a very great resource. Use of Igbo language. And I encourage you all to go online and utilize those resources to teach yourself the Igbo concept, the Igbo worldview, because language is definitely with knowledge, with I thank you all.